What's going on, guys? We are back with another video from the Video Game Guy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We're going to be talking about a game that to me just felt like it was a bit underappreciated, that kind of flew under the radar. I didn't hear a lot of people recommending it, and I didn't really have anybody talking to me about it. So I wanted to bring that game to your attention. The game we're going to be talking about today is No 9 Souls. Now, granted, of course, this particular game wasn't overly marketed, and Red Candle Games, the developer, did have a low budget comparatively speaking. But what they were able to deliver with this game is nothing short of extraordinary. This game can be considered a hidden gem by many, and I'm here today to give the game its proper flowers. That's not to say that the game is without its flaws, but before we get into it, I just once again want to take the time to thank you guys for tuning in. We are slowly but steadily growing the channel, and that is all thanks to you. If you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And now, without further ado, I give you my thoughts on No 9 Souls. Right offhand, No 9 Souls comes across as an inspired game. With the development team taking inspiration from renowned games like Sekiro and Hollow Knight, I was curious to see how they would embody what made those games so great in this one. For me, it was the ambiance and art style that immediately captured my attention. There's no denying that this game definitely has its own style and its own uniqueness to it. This is made even more apparent as you dive deeper into the narrative and you progress through the game. Yi, being your lead protagonist and main character, is portrayed to be innovative, incredibly intelligent, skeptical, and stubborn. But those are just surface level descriptions. What you'll find throughout your playthrough of the game is that Yi has a lot of layers to him, and as you begin to peel back those layers, you'll come to realize that there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. I love learning about him, his family, and his past. At first it feels like Yi's just a stranger, but the more you get to know him, the more you feel like his mission is also your mission, which is incredible to say when considering that he doesn't audibly say a single word. Alongside Yi, you have Shan, who's a light-spirited human child that Yi has developed some sort of close relationship with, Kalfo, who is Yi's best friend from his days on the council, and Agabus, also known as Ruyi, who is Yi's personal assistant. Each one of these supporting characters allows the player to view different sides to Yi, which helped with his overall character development. While Yi can come across as cold-hearted, when interacting with some of these different supporting characters, you'll see a much softer and sometimes even comical side to him. The whole game is predicated on his quest for revenge against the 9 Souls. In this game, these are the council members that each have had a hand in enslaving the human race. Each council member controls a certain district in the game, and it's your mission to go to each one of these districts and hunt them down. Now, while your quest may seem simple and direct, it becomes more complicated when you realize that not all the souls you condemn to damnation are purely evil. Some just had complicated pasts which have made them more sympathetic to an unworthy cause, and that's a great element to the game. Being able to somewhat understand your enemies really adds to the overall emotion of the game and to the narrative, and it also makes you want to continue learning more about the world and the characters within it. One of the things that I found to be the most surprising about this game is also just how story-driven it truly was, with the focus being on character development and interaction. Although there was no character that audibly talked in the game, the character dialogue personified each character's personality perfectly and made it that much more engaging and immersive. It's easy to have the story take a backseat in a game that heavily focuses on other elements, but I'm happy that it didn't because the strong narrative really enhanced my overall experience with the game. One drawback, however, from telling the story in such a way is that keeping track of what was going on at all times sometimes got a bit difficult. In fact, it could even be confusing at times. You have to be paying attention to get the full value of the story, and you have to read most, if not all, of the dialogue. This style of storytelling might not be for everyone and can be a turnoff for some, but if you are willing to give it a chance, I urge you to pay attention and to truly take your time to read the dialogue between characters so that you don't miss anything. Something I would have liked to see is a separate section on your menu dedicated to the story itself so that players could see what their objectives were and where they were in the story. This would have assisted me personally and would have kept me a little bit more engaged because anytime I had a question, I could have referenced the story information on the menu. The way to piece a story together is by looking at the data entries you'll find throughout the world, or by looking at different character bios, but that didn't seem to be quite enough for me. You also had to do a lot of backtracking in this game, so something else that I would have liked to see and would have been nice is if there was a way to mark your designated location or points of interest on your map. There were several moments in the game where I found myself wandering aimlessly, looking for where to go next and how to get to the next segment in the game, while at the same time trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything. While I appreciate being driven to explore the world around me, a lack of direction can sometimes break the immersion and otherwise make you feel like you're wasting your time. Nonetheless, the world itself is beautiful and the sense of discovery is certainly something to behold. The game looked impressive and the presentation was clean, and each section looked and felt distinct from one another. The platforming was also something that I enjoyed, especially later in the game when things really started to open up. You could also explore areas around you by using this pretty cool hacking minigame that gave you access to new areas and treasures. I do wish, however, that the game had maybe one or two more creative ways to traverse and explore the world, but what they did give you was just enough to get you by. Now, do you remember when I told you guys that this game drew inspiration from Sekiro? Well, just like Sekiro, this game was pretty challenging and even unforgiving at times. Spread throughout the whole entire world, you'll discover many different enemies that will test your patience and skill. The game does a great job of giving you a variety of enemies to fight and plenty to see. When facing any enemy in the game, you'll have the opportunity to block their attack with a parry mechanic that is completely predicated on precise timing. As you continue playing the game, you'll realize that dodging alone in this game isn't going to cut it, so really honing in on the parrying mechanic is essential, and it will be a little bit of a learning curve. Your timing is everything, and can be the difference between life and death in this game. Along with your parrying mechanic, you have regular slash attacks, jumping and dodging, a secondary bow and arrow weapon, a medicinal pipe at your disposal, and a talisman that you can attach to your enemy that will explode and cause damage. How and when you choose to use any of these is how you'll make it through the game. You can also equip you with different jades, which are equivalent to perks in this game. I think you'll enjoy some of the different perks that the game offers, but I will say that I found some to be pretty unnecessary. I pretty much went the whole game with the same core perks and held my own pretty well. I really enjoyed the combat in this game, and when everything came together, the gameplay was both fun and satisfying. You also got the opportunity to enhance your combat through skills that you would unlock the further and further you got into the game. These skills not only enhanced your overall combat ability, but also gave the game a good sense of progression, as some of the earlier enemies that you were facing became easier and easier to beat. The game also executed all of the different boss battles really well. Running into different bosses as you were exploring the world was really fun and a good experience, and it also kept you on your toes because you never really knew when you would run into one. The main story boss battles were all really exciting as well. Each battle brought with it beautiful visuals, great music, and its own challenge that made it that much more satisfying when you were victorious. Each soul that you faced had their own tempo and learning curve. The fun was in the challenge, but the challenge itself never made the game feel impossible to beat. It was incredibly gratifying to beat these bosses, especially the ones that were giving you a hard time, and there were plenty that gave me a hard time. All in all, No 9 Souls is a creative wonder that I really enjoyed playing through. It's a game that at surface level doesn't look like much, but has a lot of layers to it. It could be incredibly lighthearted at times or dark and cold at others. It's got good backstory, good characters, good combat, a beautiful world to play through, and awesome boss battles. For those reasons, No 9 Souls gets a 9 out of 10. It could have used a little bit more fine-tuning, but overall it was a great game, and at a $30 price, the value is 100% there. I sincerely think that this game, like some before it, will influence some of the other games in the space, and I'm really looking forward to it. Games like this deserve all of our support, and I encourage anybody who has not played this game to go out and buy it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you sticking with me till the end of the video. Hit that like and subscribe button for me, and let's continue to grow this thing. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below and be on the lookout for another video from the Video Game Guy.